said, excuse me.
The hoes are laughing?
Yep.
So the audience are a bunch of hoes?
Yep.
Well, there you go, folks. A little Phil for you, Dr. Phil. So we are the MCU'S Bleeding Edge, and we are here live Wednesday night, October 23rd, to talk about the 7th episode of Agatha All Along. That's right, Agatha All Along. So, of course, with me, as always, is my loyal co-host, Mr. Jeff S., Mr. TrueKnowledge. How we doing, Jeff?
Oh, looking sexy.
Looking sexy, as usual. There we go. And, of course, we have, as always, our returning wonderful guest, Time Cop, Time Lord, Time Idiot, Time whatever you want to call him. He is here with us, Mr. Andres, the pop culture guy. How we doing, Andres?
Very good. Thank you for that warm and very insulting comment, but I will take it. So live long and prosper, everyone. How you doing?
There we go, folks. The Time Cop, Time Lord is here. And then joining us, that where it has been quite a while, it's great to have him back, Mr. Kyle. Welcome, Kyle. How we doing?
Oh, I survived the Eye of Milton, and I don't end up in Oz. I end up here with you guys.
That works
going
great.
on here?
Glad to have you here, not in Oz. Thank you very much for coming here versus Oz.
Yes.
Well, what I want to know is if the audience is all the hoes, are we the pimps?
Of course.
Okay. I just want to make sure
Yeah,
I'm
we're
straight.
the pins. Yeah.
Yes, of
We're
course.
in prison. This is the Oz potentially prison. Yeah.
That took a
I
dark
think
turn real
he
quick.
was talking about Wizard of Oz, sir.
Oh,
Not Oz,
on
the
the
fucking
TV
HBO series, you retard.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh my god. Two great things, folks. Oz and the Wizard of Oz, great IPs.
He thinks he's talking about Oz and TV. Oh my
If we
gosh.
start breaking into musical wicked numbers, I'm leaving.
Oh god. Oh god. He might. I don't know. He might.
Cyber, did you know that Miss Marvel got a 98% critics Rotten Tomato rating?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Holy fuck, that's crazy.
Well, welcome to all the others that knew that, Jeff. Good job, sir. Anyways, folks, so we're here to talk about Agatha All Along, episode 7, which is called Death's Hands in Mind. That's right. Death's Hand in Mind. So, as you have seen with all the so far episodes of Agatha, they all have a very old English sound to them, which is great. All of them are very, kind of like thy and thous and stuff like that have been interesting. And so this one was no different. They put that in mind type of thing there, giving you that very old English sound, which is very witchy and witch-like, which has been fun. So, just great off there. So this episode, being only 36 minutes long, tried to shove way too much shit into one episode. Not only did they try to give a whole backstory and give you a whole bunch of flashbacks, they really were trying to shove so much into one little compact episode when they have 2 more episodes to go and they're dropping them both next week. So I don't know why they were trying to rush so badly here and why they decided to go this route, but I kind of want to get everyone's idea. Do you feel that this episode was very choppy, very cut wrong, and just kind of all over the place with too much information? Starting with you, pop culture guy.
I feel very different. I thought it was a very well-paced episode. If you cared about the mystery and all the setups they did here, this episode alone pay off all that thing, it paid off the sigil, the whole tower inverse theme from last episode, it paid off everything. But I will say that it was a very backward thing of having this episode to be Lilia's trial. I was kind of surprised this was her trial. And and so that part I was a little frustrated because we jam-pack everything in her story in this one thing and then suddenly kill her off. I was very like very sad that we lost her. But I think it wasn't choppy. I think the ending was good here. It was just like I feel like everything felt precise. I just don't think we needed stuff like it was disappointing. Like the seven trials was kind of just nothing, and like they were easily killed. And then it was. I will talk more about it, but there were a couple of things I was a little frustrated in terms of the execution of the story. But I don't think anything in terms of anything was choppy. I understood what they were doing. It's just I didn't agree on them doing it in this episode. They shouldn't wait maybe or do it in the next episode. But that's my opinion.
Okay. So when I refer to choppy, just kind of to rephrase that, I mean that the episode had so many split ends and stuff they added that just seemed out of place how they did it. Like it could have been more cohesive, I feel. I think it could have had the story feel way more cohesive. So I think that there was a lot that could have gone into this to make it a better episode. But at the same time, I think it had really interesting things.
So the thing, this just raising my hand here. Like here's the thing.
Maybe you wanted to have one of those moments where we touch each other's hands or something like that.
What, just like face off,
like in a Tom Hanks movie or some shit.
No, like Face Off with John Travolta. He's like,
yeah,
like that. No, I wasn't doing that, folks. I'm just raising my hand for Cyber to let me say something. Like I agree with you, Cyber. It was the real thing. It's like we know Real was deaf, so like why do we needed that reveal? It's like you couldn't easily put that in the next episode. Like, come on, like all of us knew it was deaf, so it wasn't like a big shock, in this episode. Like that's something we'll talk later. My frustration that the leak really hurt the show. Like everyone knew Billy and Def were in the show, and so the suspense and the reveal of their true nature, their true identity was like already spoiled like half a month. So that was my thing. It's like everything felt anticlimactic because I knew what was going on. Like I knew the reveal and all that. So that's my thing.
Yep. I most definitely don't think that it was the choppiness was in any way you weren't able to understand it. But at the same time, I think Tom Adams here is referring to Lilia. I don't think she's dead. I think how they ended it, she's not dead. But anyways, so just like how we thought they were dead when they sunk into the ground, or the 2 episodes ago. But anyways, Mr. Kyle,
Yes.
How did you feel? Did you feel the episode was kind of all over the place?
This is where you get caught in the trap of having this cute idea run through with literally jumping through different time throughout the episode, throughout the show, and then when you get to the payoff and you try to get over cute with the idea of what you're doing, and why like you said, Cyber, you can figure it out if you've been watching the show from the beginning. But the problem is we're at a point now where we should be taking the direct approach and not having this bounce around type episode with her in different time frames and explaining things, especially when we're coming off the last 2 episodes with the reveal of Teen as Billy, as Wiccan, and kind of in this point of like, we want to go forward, we want to get to the story. And this felt like we moved forward, but it was going the most roundabout way we could to get to it. And I think they got trapped in their own little cuteness of this idea. And I wasn't shocked that it was the episode was focused on her because it made sense. They needed to get her trial out of the way. They hadn't done it yet, and she was the only one left. But it made this episode feel like, okay, this was an inevitable episode. They had to do this episode now because they couldn't really save it for the finales. They did some interesting things here. There's some interesting reveals. There's some obvious reveals that if you've been following the show from day one, you knew this was coming. I think now this was the clear the decks episode for the final 2, so they can really focus on the story of what's going on with Wiccan, what is Agatha's endgame. The Salem 7 aren't dead. She's not dead. It's now a combination of death, Wiccan's endgame, and Agatha's endgame for the final 2 episodes. And that's where the payoff's going to be. I said this last week on my own show, True Believers. I truly believe they've set this up to where they're going to end up having an Agatha season 2, where the focus of that is going to be the search for Wiccan's brother in that season. I think that's what the stinger will be at the end of this series, and I think that's where they're that's one of the things that they could be leading to, because this show, I know Jeff won't agree with me, but the ratings on this show have been some of the highest for a Disney Plus Marvel show in a good while. People love Catherine Hahn on this show, and she alone is getting people to put their eyeballs on this. They are going to do more things with her, whether it's a second season of Agatha or they make her a major part of a Scarlet Witch film. But it's something and more is coming with Agatha after this is done.
Excellent. Thank you, Kyle. Yeah, I mean, we got comment section good over here. We got Tom Adams again. He said he loves seeing Lilia's perspective of the site, which, yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think that was great, and definitely was a part of her trial. But I still feel they could have played it out better. They could have edited it better. They could have had it flow better. Is my thought process on this, because how they kept jumping back and forth, they could have had more cohesive viewing of what her flashbacks were and stuff like that. So that's just my thought process on that. And hey to Emo Taurus, is that how you say it? Emo Taurus. Yes, and I totally get what you're talking about there, Kyle, about how they definitely could make another season, most definitely, and focus on Billy finding his brother. I can see that. I also could see them having to do with Wanda. I could see it having to do with the Darkhold again, which would lead us, I think, more to a great character that everyone's been wanting to see in the MCU since they kind of mentioned him. We of course got the mention finally in this season of Agatha, Mephisto. I mean, there's so many possibilities where they could go with this. So I think very well done. So, Jeff, who hated the episode, what did you think about the editing process or the jumping back and forth? What did you think about that, sir?
Very incoherent. The episode was very incoherent. The storyline was just like episode. I feel like from episode to episode, the storyline has just become more and more convoluted. With unnecessary scenes. Like the throwback scenes in this episode are not unnecessary. They didn't have to go flashback the way they did. It didn't work. You know what I'm saying? It works with some TV series. It works, right? Some films it works. These flashback scenes, in certain ways, but they didn't work in this episode. I honestly, I think Agatha looks visually solid for the most part, but I don't like the writing. I don't like the emphasis on the queer shit, shit doesn't have to be gay, to be entertaining or whatever. The emphasis on the queer aspect of the show, to me, I guarantee you, if we had gay people on here right now with us, right, and we were asking them about it, they'd probably agree with me. They'd be like, this shit is over gay, Like, how many gay characters do you possibly have to have in one fucking TV show? Like, make gay. It's just like they said it on South Park. Make him gay and put a chick in it. Or make him gay, put a chick in it. Or whatever. There you go. That's Agatha right there. Kathleen Kennedy. Make it gay, put a chick in it. All right? And, I don't get down with that, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm down with Billy being gay. That's fine. He can be gay all he wants. But, flipping Agatha over to being gay now, she's not acting like she's gay, talking all gay and shit, saying gay shit. What the fuck, bro? You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. Nobody wants that shit. Nobody asked for that. I can't tell if this TV series is, only for LGBT people, like LGBT alphabet people, if that's who the show is for, or if it's for me. You know what I'm saying? I can't tell. It don't feel like it's for me. You know what I mean? Like, they did not make this for me as an MCU fan. I'm sorry. They didn't make it for you either, Time Cop. I'm sorry, but it's not for you, bro. It's not for you, bro. All right? They fucked you over, bro. You feel me? They screwed you.
They,
Not for
we
you.
finally got him. We finally got Jeff. Finally, people. Oh gosh, I was waiting for a rant to go on about the gay shit in this series because it's been going on since the beginning of this series.
It's overdone. It's overdone. I'm tired of it already. I'm sick of it. It ruins the fucking show. It ruins entertainment value when they go this direction. I don't mind homosexual gay characters. It doesn't bother me as long as they're good characters and it fits a coherent story. You know what I'm saying? Like from episode to episode, right? That's fine. I'm totally fine with it. But I'm done kissing ass for this show at this point. Like as an MCU fan, I tried to bide my time and bite my tongue and like hang in there and kind of just roll with it for a while and see what would happen. But now I'm kind of like a little bit let down with the series at the episode 7 mark. And I don't know why they're releasing the last 2 episodes together. I don't understand that sentiment. I don't know why that's necessary. It's a lot to like have to watch 2 episodes of something. You know, like I know everybody doesn't do YouTube and like do podcasting or whatever and talk about this shit like we do, but still, that even if you're not like doing a podcast, that's a lot of TV watching to have to do 2 episodes in one shot. So
we did 3 with Rings of Power, so
I know. And they were long as fuck too. Holy fuck.
That was 3 hours. This will be more like an hour and a half, maybe.
Cyber, the problem is Jeff is just jealous because he didn't get a headpiece for this podcast.
I know.
No.
I know.
I want to get a new outfit, like a new Star Wars outfit to wear. Like I do kind of would like to get a new outfit to wear on the show, so I have an outfit because I like wearing like my Tusken Raider outfit and shit like that. But like besides that, I'm good. I don't need that hat. I would never actually invest money into that hat. And honestly, when they I'm just gonna stop right there and save my thoughts for the episode review and stop there. Peace.
Thanks. Excellent.
What are you talking about, Jenny? I didn't know she was gay. What are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Just because you knew, I didn't know.
I'd assumed she was bi since the beginning of the show. That was I've never, but
she wasn't gay in WandaVision. What the fuck?
Oh, well,
hey, and Jenny, that's fine. If you find the flashbacks made sense to you, that's fine. That's great. Like they did make sense. We just feel that they could have been edited to fit a better flow, is what we were talking about there about Lydia's life. It just seemed like it could have been.
It felt like what they did was they did all these little flashbacks through the episode, and then they just threw it all together in like the last 2 minutes of the episode. Like,
yeah,
okay, this is what. So it felt like you were kind of like, okay, why did we all do this if you were just going to do this at the end of the episode?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Tom Adams. I thought they were roommates. Laugh out loud. Yes. Yeah. They could have been just roommates. Who knows? You never know. That's correct.
This ain't no penguin. This ain't no penguin, Cyber.
It's not no Penguin. Penguin is by far the best series of the year. But Emo Taurus, yes, you understand with what we're saying though, but she is in love with Death, I guess. Yes, we do know that in the comics there is a timeline where Thanos and Deadpool both are in love with Death, most definitely. That's what they keep mentioning about Thanos coming back, is that he's going to be in love with Death, and that's kind of get a storyline that they're going to be following. But with Agatha, I don't recall in the comics seeing that, but I could be wrong. I don't know. But
I just want to throw in, I don't know if it was an Agatha in love with Death, but they definitely had Agatha in the more modern issues of the Scarlet Witch series that they did a few years back. Death was actually a big part of that series, and it really kind of brought it in because of how Wanda's powers were working both on a magical level, but also in a cosmic level with that. And that's how they involve Death, at least in the comics.
Yep. Thank you. All right. Great job, guys. Thanks for all the great comments, folks, in the comment section. You guys are all doing a great job. All right, so getting into the episode, Death's Hand in Mind, we start off showing following Lilia And as that happens, we go to a blackout, and then we pop back up to Billy and Agatha on the road. And they're making their way, they're having conversation, and their usual, back and forth little babbling. And then all of a sudden they come up to this really strange big castle. And when they come up to this castle, basically we figure this is going to be their next trial. So they make their way, over to there and to get in, and they get in, and then all of a sudden, once again, as they enter, they change into different clothing. And at this point, they're making them Disney princesses for some odd reason, or Disney villains. I'm not sure here.
It was actually, I don't think it was a Disney villain. It was just famous witches. You had Maleficent. You had the Wicked Witch of the West. You had, I think Lilia was the good witch from the Wizard of Oz, and then I think Jennifer Kale was probably the evil queen from Snow White. Maybe. I'm just reaching out to guess there because they've done. That's one of the things this show has done is it's had a ton of Wizard of Oz references throughout it as well.
Yeah. So we had that. We had them all in like very much witch-looking outfits, which was very interesting, especially teen Billy being Maleficent. That was hilarious, and he even like makes like a reference to wearing makeup, which was kind of funny. And so we get to that point. So we're gonna stop right there. What'd you guys think of that intro leading up to the first trial? Starting with you, Kyle.
It was interesting. I expected a little bit of the teen Agatha conversation. But again, this comes back to the editing of this show, too, where the last time we seen Lilia and Jennifer Kale, we thought they were either dead or imprisoned or something in the swamp. And then we open up with this falling scene. And then you go right into the conversation between Agatha and Billy, and you're still. I think for me, this was one of the whole things of the episode was it just seemed like after the big reveal of Billy and having that whole last episode be so focused on him, you felt like he would be a little more involved in this episode than what he was. And even from the start of it, she's like, "Oh well, now you can't read my mind," all this kind of things, and it just they really seem to like downplay him right from the get go in this episode.
Excellent. Thank you. Jeff, your thoughts?
Yeah, they lost me like with this episode from jump. I really did not like Agatha with the green body paint. I thought it was stupid looking, like dumb as fuck. It didn't work for me at all. I don't like the portrayal of witches that they're displaying on the road, right? Like through these trials. I don't like the way that they're structuring the trials that much. They're not very entertaining at all. Like they're getting kind of dumb at this point. I didn't feel like the introduction of the episode carried over well from the last episode at all, in terms of what that was about. The last episode, I didn't feel like it carried over well into that, and I don't like the personal dynamic between Billy and Agatha on screen. I don't like their chemistry as actors. Catherine Hahn and that actor, I don't like them together. They don't feel like they have really good chemistry. I don't feel like they really pop together on screen at all. Maybe it's him and not her. I don't know because he's a lot younger, maybe not as experienced as an actor as she is. He seems really young. I like Catherine Hahn a lot better in WandaVision. I don't really like what they're doing with her in this show. It's not just the gay stuff, the being bi stuff. I don't mind. I appreciate women being bi, it's depending on how it's handled, like it's a positive for me. I like doing threesomes and stuff like that. I'm all about women being bi. It's kind of a prerequisite thing for me with chicks that I'm actually with. Like if I'm going to be in a relationship with a chick, she needs to be bi, or at least curious about being bi, because it's just like so most women, a lot of women are like, or at least are open to it if you ask them or like, the right way. So I don't mind just being bi, and I certainly don't mind people being gay. There's a lot of cool gay people out there, but I don't like the way being gay is being handled in this show. And as far as the introductory part of the episode, I just felt like it was kind of lackluster, and I I've had a hard time connecting with some of the side and secondary characters during the show. Throughout the series, I've had a hard time connecting with some of them to where I couldn't name to you some of the witches that are on the squad. I couldn't name some of them. So that's all I got.
All right, thank you. Andres, your thoughts, sir, on that leading up to the beginning of the trial?
Yeah, this one is tough. I think the beginning is okay. I think I think I agree with Jeff, right? Like it's kind of a weird transition. They didn't pick you up where the last episode picked you up. Like Jeff brought up the Penguin. Like the Penguin does a really good job of picking us up where we left off in the previous episode, and this it doesn't do that. And so I was kind of like, oh really? We're not going to address what what we did. It was, yeah, I agree. That's where the choppiness came from. I feel like that part was choppy, like the way we picked up from the last episode. As Kyle said before, the last two episodes were, very Billy centric, episodes, and then all of a sudden we have to switch it because apparently this is going to be a trial for someone. And I think one of the big problems I have, I think realizing now, is the trials for each individual sounded great, but then now I realize it doesn't. I feel like they sacrificed that a little too much for Billy because Billy is a comic book character. They're trying to set up the whole Young Avengers thing, and it's like, yeah, I get that, but you could just do that on one episode and like give some characters some time and pace, like Lilia and Jennifer. And like Jennifer doesn't have her own trial. Like I like, it's kind of ridiculous. So I feel like this opening just shows that I feel like they're wasting they wasted the cool idea that I liked about the show, was the idea of going to this world and face the trials for each of these witches. And I feel like we didn't really use that properly, and I think this opening kind of shows you that they went in a different direction, which is kind of annoying. But past that, I don't mind the whole like them dressing up as witches, as Kyle said before. This show has been very good. They've been embracing the whole witchcraft thing, and I like how they dive into witchcraft and try to create their own like melodic like lore and myths in their MCU supernatural, because they're trying to be different from the other witches, which is fine. Every movie from The Craft and whether they're practical magic, they did very differently in terms of what witchcraft means, and so this show is doing its own version of what witchcraft means and all that in the MCU, and it's cool. I don't have a problem with that. I just think that, I think this show maybe should gone with another premise that explore more of the witchcraft in a better explanation. Yeah, Kyle.
I was just going to say, to hear your point on that, because Kevin Feige's actually talked about this when he talked about Doctor Strange, how he has to approach magic, especially differently in the MCU versus the comic world, and how they approach it, how they can present it, and things like that. So I think they are tied it up by some limitations just by not making it real life practical instead of a comic book per se. And I think there's aspects where they've done a very good job of doing that, but there's times in the series where it's come off a little quirky and a little bit more. I'm not sure if that was the right direction, but I think for the most part, I understand. I think what the things they've done in this series to make it more live action adaptable and adaptable to the MCU.
Yeah,
they're batting about 75% of being successful with it. So all things considered, I think that's doing pretty well.
I think Doctor Strange actually successfully did it. The first movie I didn't latch onto it because they were trying to be too grounded. But then when we got to Infinity War, and Endgame, and then Multiverse Madness, I appreciate that they actually went crazy with the strange powers and how he did it creatively. Like they did way better job of making magic than the new Fantastic Beasts movies. Like like they just used it once and splashed some ghouly like energy where Strange did like that like musical fight note with Sinister Strange. That was cool. And this here, I appreciate how they use magic here. I I I think Marvel needs to understand we need to borrow certain things that can work on live action, leave the ones that are too complicated, I think, to adapt in live action, but pick the ones that are easier to depict in live action. Then I think you can have this happy medium for the supernatural Marvel. It's not that hard. That's my wrap of the sequence. Just overall, it was overwhelming opening.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, I mean, a lot of what goes on with what we were just talking about there too, as well, is there's a lot of complicated parts to the magic scheme of the MCU. And like as Kyle was mentioning, there's some of it that they're using for the comics, there's some they're making up. Just like pretty much any of the other films, we've had so many films where they've used some and then some of their own ideas. So, that's just a part of the MCU. So you can't always expect to get everything we want, unfortunately, because that's just not how they work. But at the same time, it would make it a little more understanding to those that are super comic book fans. Those of us that really haven't read the comic books, I feel, we're a little more inept to be a little more, allowing of it versus those that are diehard comic book fans. So I understand both parties here. Anyways, all right. So great job, guys. Very well done. So after that, after we get to the next trial, that's when we find out that Lilia and Jen are not dead. They are in this tunnel, trying to make their way through this tunnel to get to wherever they're trying to get to. And at this point, that's when, we start having Lilia have her flashbacks. Now, pretty much from here, after they have kind of the first kind of flashbacks, we end up them popping up at the trial with, Agatha and Billy. And then from there, we just basically have about, I feel, 10 to 15 minutes of lots of flashbacks going back and forth between present and, past and future. And so we basically get back and forth with Lilia, basically going back to her childhood, talking to her mother, I believe that's supposed to be, or the mother of her coven. We have, basically her re-going through moments that we have seen throughout the series so far of her having lapsed memory. We see her like when all of a sudden they start talking to her again, she's like lost, or she doesn't know where she is or what she said just 5 minutes ago. So we get to see pretty much all those little, what was causing her to have these types of, lapses in memory. And so basically it plays out throughout this portion of the film, basically leading up to the climactic conclusion of her actually figuring out what she needs to do to pass this trial. So let's kind of talk about that middle section there of all the flashbacks, the learning of, of her past, learning of her divination powers, stuff like that, and kind of the back and forth between present, past, and future there that happens, that we get to see all the kind of cracks that are filled with the information we weren't aware of in the previous episodes. So what are you guys' thoughts on that? Starting with you, Jeff.
Can you run that last part of the question by me again?
Which part?
I didn't understand. What are you just asking me about the episode itself?
Yes.
Okay. So again, they lost me with the whole tarot, card sequence of the trial. I really never was able to lock down what was really happening with that. I really didn't get it. I didn't understand what was happening with the flashbacks when they started. I didn't feel like there was any explanation really that was like really helpful at all as to what was happening for me. Of course, when you're not really like entertained or locked in when you're watching an episode of a TV show, you could easily drift here or there, on what's going on, and you'll lose little details here or there from that. You'll kind of like nod off here or there from the episode. So I just kind of started to get more lost at that point, and I already mentioned it earlier in the group chat that I thought that stupid hat or like headpiece or whatever that Billy had on was really fucking stupid. He looked like a fucking dumbass. So whatever with that. I guess at this point I understood that like the Patty Lupone character or whatever was supposed to be like the big character of the episode, but I was at a loss for what was happening, really, that's pretty much it, Cyber.
Okie dokie. Mr. Andres, your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, oh man, what to say? I think I didn't know what they were trying to do until like towards the like halfway point, and I think it's a very creative way to merge. Like if you've seen Memento or some of the non-linear stories, like that's really cool to do, But doing it, I never seen that before in a television thing. I commend them for being creative to like mesh these flashbacks, or not flashbacks, but like these very recurring things that we saw previously from the episodes, with Lilia doing these like, connect visions that she has about the future that's coming up, which is this episode, right? And it's always tough when you have a character like her, Lilia, who is like really OP. If you think about it, like the fact that she, OP, but also have this like disability as well, like dementia, like early signs of dementia. You really need to get that like very clear, and how like struggle she has with this power. And I don't think they successfully done that, but I like the way how they use it, like how the transition to the flashback from episode 1 or 2, 3, it worked really well. I disagree with you, Jeff. I really like Joe Locke. I think Joe Locke is a great actor. I think this episode just completely.
I never said he wasn't a good actor. I said his hat was stupid.
Yeah, well, his hat is. Well, I mean, it's Maleficent. I mean, if you haven't seen Sleepy Booty, then I mean, Sleepy Booty. Correct me, people.
Yeah.
If that's okay, thank you, Kyle. Because I was like, I don't want to get run the Run Disney movie from Maleficent comes from, but yeah, I think Joe Locke and Catherine are actually a good pair. I really like that, and I think they have chemistry, and I just think that this episode doesn't like spend enough time with them together. Well, F you, sir, if you don't care. But anyway, but I just wish we spent more time with that. But the thing I didn't like is they pull us. You know what they did? They pull a rug on us. You think this is Billy's trial. You think this is Billy's trial this episode, right? But then all of a sudden we have to switch it to Leah's trial, which was very, like, no offense, very disservice to half of the episode that we're watching. You're thinking this was maybe another continuation with Billy's trial, because we thought from the first, the last 2 episodes we have review, either here or other channels, right, that this was going to be a Billy focused halfway point. But then all of a sudden this episode now is like, okay, we already done our centric Billy episodes. Let's go back to our richest rolled trials for the other characters. And it's like, what? I don't get that. I mean, I like these characters. I love Leah. I think she's a great character, and the actress who plays her is really great. But to just pull us the rug that this is not Billy's trial kind of did disservice, because Billy is very important for the future of the MCU, later on the road, but no pun intended with the road, but like but I feel like that was a very big disservice in that middle part of the episode, to like pull us the rug that this is Lydia's trial, which I'm fine with. But I think you could have done that in next episode, 8 or something like that, to make it more impactful. But yeah, so I think this midsection is okay. I like the creativity of how to use the flashbacks. I don't think it's choppy, but I think the big disservice was that you pulled the rug from us that this is supposed to be Billy's trial somewhat, but then it turns out to be Lilia's trial.
Okay, thank you, sir. Great job there. We love
sorry.
the dramatic exit.
Yes,
very
I'm
well
sorry.
done.
I was supposed to mute myself. That was a mistake. Don't
No,
forget
we would have never guessed. Anywho, Kyle, sir, please, your thoughts on the middle section of the episode, leading up to basically when Lilia discovers it's her that needs to finish the trial.
So, if you didn't realize this episode was that the trial was going to be her trial, you haven't been watching the show. You haven't been paying attention. Billy is not actually part of the Covenant. He is there, but he's not going to. His trial is at the end of the road, and I think they kind of established that. The problem is getting back to the aspect of the jumping around with the different time things. They went too lost here, literally. They with the flashbacks, with everything, they got too cute. And again, you have all this going on with these flashbacks to the point where they have to actually use Jennifer Kale as our point of view by her saying, well, you told me you were going to get kooky and this was going to happen. You were going to, so you have to have another character explain what's going on to the audience. And that's never a great move. In the meantime, again, because this episode just feels like, okay, this was an episode we had to have because we had to wrap up this part of the story before we could get to the finale. And that's the problem with this episode. As soon as you see its tarot card, you know it's Lilia's trial, because they've established she's the fortune teller. She's kind of the gypsy witch of this bunch. So you knew immediately. And again, this is the episode that's what was the frustrating part about this episode was they have said all along each witch was going to have their own trial. They all needed to be a part of this. And so when this hits, you're like, well, you're going against your own logic that you wrote earlier in the show. And so I'm going, that's what's frustrating, especially because, again, we knew we needed to have this episode, but you're taking away from the momentum you had built up the previous 2 weeks with the confirmation reveal, the thing we all knew anyway, that Billy is Wiccan, and then getting his story told and getting to that dynamic. And instead it's like, it's pause, we're doing this, and we'll go back to this. It's one of those things that's just, it really kind of takes you out of the momentum that was building, and you feel a little lost with this. I think it kind of got some of it back with how they handled the last about 5 to 10 minutes of this, about 5 to 8 minutes of this episode. But that middle section, yeah, it really kind of took you out of what was going on, and they really had to work to pull you back in at the end.
Very true. I completely concur there, sir. Very well done. And just want to shout out Jenny Medina here in the comment section. She mentioned when Billy makes a comment that Wanda is not his mom, and there's that awkwardness. You can see that the dynamic is more along the lines of Agatha is like a surrogate mother while missing her son, which I totally get that. I can see that most definitely with, Agatha, because as we saw earlier, after Billy got injured and she was worried about him dying, you could kind of see that motherly love, that kind of motherly, like worry and stuff like that, like, a person that's actually really concerned. So I definitely could see that happening there with Agatha and Billy being, being his surrogate mom, most definitely. All right, good job, guys. Yeah, that whole section, like I was saying before, I think that it could have played out better if they had done some of it in this episode and some of it in the next episode. I feel it was just too condensed into the one episode. And knowing that we needed to get Lily's story out, you kind of should have took the time and kind of give us some of it in this one and kind of finish it off in the next one, which they could have done, which would have made it a little more cohesive and a little more understandable for those of us that have found it hard to understand. Now, like I said, I myself didn't have that problem. I understood what was going on, but I didn't like how they edited it and how they put it all together and how they put in, you know, the flashbacks and stuff like that. I just didn't care for how they placed it. I just feel it could have been placed better to make it seem more cohesive. So that's kind of my thought process on that. So great job, guys. All right, so basically that leaves us to the end of the episode, which basically is Lilia, basically kind of taking over and, you know, figuring out what needs to be done to finish this trial. And so basically we have this climactic ending where she basically is revealing the tarot cards that they need and placing them in the right spot. Everyone being, you know, being distressed and like, oh no, get through it, Lilia, save us, kind of deal. And as this is going on, we have more flashbacks going on with her going back to different points where we have had her have, you know, kind of memory loss or, you know, lost time. And we get to see a few of those moments again as she's figuring these out and, you know, basically saying what each of these cards are. And then we finally get to the final card. And that's where at the final card we find out, and we have that flashback of after they have fallen down into that tunnel, Rio is there. And Rio is revealed to be Death. Now, if you didn't realize that Rio is Death, you know, from her first popping up on the road, I feel, you know, maybe so you might want to read a book. I don't know. I just don't get how you could not understand that she was Death not this whole time. But at the same time, you know, I think that this reveal, which a lot of people have mentioned saying, hey, why did you decide to reveal this now? Like, we still got 2 episodes to go. That seems kind of early. So hopefully that will pay off, them giving that away so early, all right. But if you had any interest in Funko Pops, just FYI for those out there, you probably knew that Rio was Death. You already probably knew that William was Billy, and you probably, you know, knew that, all that kind of stuff. So if you have bought those or pre-ordered or whatever, you would have known that already. But anyways, so basically, you know, Lilia finishes the quest, puts down the Death card, and, you know, is about to put it down. And then, you know, of course, Agatha grabs it and puts it down. And of course, the trial has finished. As the trial is finished, basically the ceiling goes back up and everything. And they're supposed to be all fine and all that good and dandy stuff. And basically they all start marching outside to the exit to the road, back to the road. And as they're doing that, basically Lilia is kind of like ushering them out and basically, you know, says, I have to finish this. I have to, you know, save the day, basically. And she ends up closing the doors and back of them and staying behind to take on the Salem 7. So as you know, we go back, she kind of gives a little bit of a monologue, and all of a sudden we start seeing these animals pop up. We see snakes, a fox, a rat, a crow, and all of a sudden they all turn into the Salem 7. And so we see the Salem 7, they all appear. Finally, we get like kind of a nice close look of kind of all of them. And basically, you know, she's still going through kind of a little bit of her like kind of kind of monologue. And that's what brings her to what in the previous episode about the obsolete being upside down, or the tower being upside down. And she turns it around and it causes the whole tower to turn upside down. And all the Salem 7 fall down and get impaled by the swords. So Lilia's hanging off one of the table there and is looking down, and she kind of is at peace with it, and then she falls down and it goes dark. End of episode. So what are your guys' thoughts on the conclusion of the episode? What did you think about it? Take your time, elaborate anything you would like to about the ending or any part of the episode you might have not mentioned in your previous talks, and just kind of your overall thoughts on that finale of this episode. And do you think that it did any good for this episode? Do you feel that it actually concluded this episode well? And this time we'll start with you, Kyle.
So I think the finale is excuse the unintentional pun, it's a double-edged sword. In the aspect of basically everything that they just spent 15 minutes flashbacking, they put in order and gave it to you in about 2 minutes, and it made much more sense than 15 minutes of previous flashbacking. So that makes it frustrating. However, what it does set up a few things. It does set up what one of the quandaries is for Billy is that he still isn't quite sure who he is. Is he Billy Maximoff or is he William Kaplan? And it shows that he's struggling with that, and he doesn't necessarily get that answer. And I think that's something that will play up in the final 2 episodes. And I think that's kind of his journey that he's really going to find out about there. The other aspect of it is we get Lila's storyline kind of wrapped up. Do I think we're going to see her again? Yes, I do, because death is a part of this series, and we get that confirmation, even though Funko Pops spoil more Marvel stuff than even Tom Holland. But that's an important piece, one we already knew, but I think it is important. I think the one question I have floating out is I am 99% sure we'll see Salem 7 again. If we do not see Salem 7 again, though, and this is how they go out after how they've been portrayed this whole series, what an absolute waste. And I don't think it's the last time we're seeing them, but I am going to throw that out there because there's a lot of stuff that still needs to be done in these final 2 episodes. If we do not see Salem 7 again, it will literally knock this series a peg down for me, because it took something that they have been saying is like this ultimate threat to them. They should be horrified of Salem 7, and they went out like a bunch of bitches like that. That's kind of, yeah, no. Well, it's a wait and see what happens, but that's kind of sitting in the back of my mind after the end of this episode. But I do, like I said, I do think the last 5 to 8 minutes of this episode really did help it rebound to set up going into the final 2 episodes coming out next week.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Andreas, your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, kind of the finale maybe pull you back. It did pull me back because of one thing. It was the performance of Pally Laporte, who plays Lilia. Her performance here was fantastic. Like, she really shined those like half point of this episode, and that really pulled me into this episode. Like, she finally knew that this was her trial, and like she needed to complete the task. Like, all that really worked for me, despite my mixed feeling on the structure of this episode. The first 2 halves, I think the first 2 halves are very weak, but the third half, when we really focus on Lilia and her trial and like helping them, to complete the task to move forward to the witch's role, all that really worked for me. I really liked that, and especially when she tells them each, telling Agatha, say this to Rio, or like gave, Billy the book, again, and then the last part, Jennifer, that last word that really touched me a little bit, and like I always wanted, like when you say I always wanted to be a witch, that really killed me. It's like, and I knew that she was gonna sacrifice herself to let them go to the role. I thought all that really worked. Just the way she performed that was really good. And then seeing the Salem 7 coming in as the Amulet Forms was really cool. But I do agree with Kyle here. It's like, if this is the final thing this is their final bow out, it's probably the worst thing ever. The wasted here, completely wasted if we don't see them again, because they have potential to be scary villains, and this whole show hasn't done that at all. So yeah, it's very conflicting. I think that finale was really great, and I thought Patty Plum really saved this episode. Actually, like, look, if you don't like this episode, that's fine, but you cannot deny that she, Lilia, was the highlight of this episode, and she is the MVP. I feel like, for this episode, because she just nails that like confusion and like confidence and commitment to try to get this trial done is like really great. And I if we don't see her again in the next 2 episodes, then this is a good way to bat out. I just it was so cool how they slowed down. One funny thing for the end of the episode, it was very convenient when the episode was done. Time in a bottle came up. I was like, what the hell? Everyone, if you guys are like us, obviously, Time in a Bottle is by Jim Cross, and obviously Quicksilver used that in his first thing in X-Men Days of Future Past. So it was weird to hear that in this show and the MCU thing. But look, every movie has that. Like, every movie has the same songs. Like, Shrek had All-Star, but Mystery Man had All-Star first, So it's just kind of funny to hear Time in the Bottle in the show as the end credit song. But overall, I enjoyed myself in this final part of the episode. It definitely pulled me back from this episode. But it's a very weak episode, I would have to say.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And we have Jenny Medina over here in the comments again going, I think seeing death was a flash. It's after she fell and is dying. She's saying that she saw death. So maybe not. We don't know. We'll find out, won't we, Jenny? Thank you for your comments. Very well done. Jeff, your thoughts on the conclusion of the episode, sir?
Yeah, I like Andrea said, very weak episode. Just really weak. Short, weak. I don't like the use of Lady Death in this series, really. For me, I'm not reading current comics right now. I just know Lady Death from my years of reading comics back in the day as more of a cosmic being. Like I said to Kyle, before the show. And so I just don't find this very comic book accurate. Her representation as of right now, it's very strange. But I mean, they could, we'll see what they do with the character. But yeah, I mean, again, I was lost by the flashback scene, so I had no idea what that was about. So that did not help me during the episode or at the end to really be able to lock down what I was getting from them. All I saw was them stop the sword shit from like coming down on them or whatever, with the tarot game. Jennifer Kale survived or whatever with them, and they got through that door or whatever. The Salem 7 have not been done very well, like Kyle said. There's nothing scary going on in this series at all. I'm not scared by anything that's going on. So if they're trying to scare anybody, I'm not scared by anything that they're doing. So I'm going to really rate this really low in my rating. And I don't really have much to say about the end. I really like Catherine Hahn. I just don't like this show very much. And I didn't like episode 7 at all. And I do think there are talented actors and actresses on this show. I just don't think they're being used very well. I don't like the writing. I don't like the pace of the episodes that much. I didn't like the pace of this episode very much. And I wasn't really super engaged by the end of the episode. So, yeah, just really weak episode. I guess it's a filler episode-ish. Setting up the, your final 2 episodes, right? And it just didn't do a really good job, doing that or filling that role. Taking us into the, the finale, basically. This was not a great effort on their part. And I don't know who this was for, this show. I don't know who it's for at all. I don't get that. As an MCU fan, I don't get what this is for. I don't see what this connects to. They're not going to do another season of this. That's not going to happen. The only time I've ever done a second season of a Disney Plus Marvel show, they've made it clear during that show that they were going to do it. They're not going to make another season of this. So I'm really kind of, at a loss as to what direction they're going to go in here at the end. But we'll see. And that's it.
All right. Excellent. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I mean, the direction that this series is taking, a lot of the chatter I've seen recently in different posts and stuff like that, there's a lot of people saying they feel that, after this is going to lead into the Scarlet Witch solo film, which they keep talking about, which keeps resurfacing over the last year. And a lot of people feel that that's going to manifest into a film eventually. And that, Catherine Hahn might play a part in it, and Billy himself too as well. And I think that this is really kind of setting up, Multiverse of Madness 2, or the third Doctor Strange film. I really feel that this is where this is trying to take it into, especially with the magic and the divination and stuff like that, especially because of how Multiverse of Madness left us off. So I think that that's kind of the direction that this was supposed to be taking us in, but how they executed this show isn't pushing it in that right direction. And the show is trying to do its own thing opposite the MCU. And hence why, if you notice, Kevin Feige has come out and said, yes, you have to deal with this couple crappy more projects, and then we'll get back to being the normal MCU again. And so this was definitely one of those ones they said that you were going to have to deal with. And, unfortunately, there have been some highs and lows for the series. There have definitely been lots of opportunities they could have done better. They could have toned things down. They could have, didn't go in certain directions they really didn't need to. And, it's definitely one of those things that you're like, I've seen some decent episodes with this, but then after seeing this episode, it's kind of like, oh, wow, you just really screwed the pooch again. Like, what the hell happened here? So it's kind of one of those things, unfortunately, over the last 3 years, we've had, unfortunately, the MCU has not been at its height as it was up to Endgame. And so, unfortunately, this is just one of those byproducts of what has happened. So I definitely feel this episode is one of those byproducts of what has been brought to us over the last couple of years for the MCU. Anyways, so final thoughts, guys, and then your rating. Anything else you like to mention about the episode or the series in a whole? And then after that, give me your rating of this episode. We'll start with you, Andres.
Sure. Yeah. I still enjoyed the show. I mean, it's not gonna be a top tier Disney Plus show like some of the ones I enjoy, like WandaVision, Hawkeye, sorry, and Loki. Both seasons. But it's a good show. It's better than Echo. I mean, it's better than Secret Invasion. I really enjoy it. There's the thing that saves this show is the really great craftsmanship from the Korea people. They really cared about the material they're doing here, of the witchcraft. They are doing character development properly. I mean, I'm happy that Agatha is still a villain. She's still this annoying but very ambiguous character, and that's good because as Saber brought up the Scarlet Witch movie, and we are going to get that. I want to see more of the Wanda versus Africa thing because we only saw it briefly in WandaVision, 3 years ago. So I really want that. I think viewing this, I think I realized they had a great premise about a couple witches going to this world and face their demons in these trials, but they did it, but they didn't took their time to do those trials properly. And then the midpoint is where they did this thing where we need to do this Billy thing because as I said before, and it's been very obvious, Billy is going to be a major part of the future of the Marvel stuff later on in phase 5 and 6, whatever that materialize, whenever they get to that point, of Young Avengers or whatnot, and I think that's a detriment to the show. So it's not hurting my enjoyment of the show, but I feel like that's the part where it's very weak. It's come on, just focus on the witches and just Africa. That's it. I don't that's been a problem with phase 4 and 5. It's just you're setting up this thing that's not going to be payoff at all in the next couple years. Like, come on. It's just like you can't do that. It's just very annoying. Yeah, so and Jeff, you brought up comic book accuracy. See, I don't care about comic book accuracy. If you do it well, you do it well. I think for me, I think Death is, I don't know why they brought up Death, if Death is going to be a major character in either Scarlet Witch movie or in Midnight Suns. So if they have to put her this way, then I'm fine with that. But I don't think they needed to have her here. And look, this is not the first time Marvel has done this. Like, so many of the villains and the heroes are different from the comic books. Like Age of Ultron, like Ultron is different from from Age of Ultron the movie from the comics, and I still like Ultron from Age of Ultron the movie, and still like him in the comic books. I mean, even the Joker. I mean, going to DC, Joker. He's been depicted differently over the years, from '89 and Heath Ledger, and Joker, Joaquin, and Suicide Squad, and they're all fine interpretations. So I just think my problem with Rio and Death is not the relationship. It's just like, why do we need to include her? It's like, you have the villain here. It's Africa. That's it. You don't need these other external threats in this episode. So for my rating, it's a 7.5 out of 10. It's the weakest of the bunch, but I fairly enjoyed myself in this episode. I think I just liked it because of Lilia, Patty LaPorte's performance was really. Fuck you. Fuck you. I think that's Cyber. I think it's you, Cyber. I know it's you. You have control of these dates. But yes, she was great. She pulled me back in the finale. Yes, you are, Cyber. I see your smug smile there, sir. Anyway, that's all I have to say. You're telling me you're the one to do it. I'm out, boys.
What?
Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Oh gosh, got you good, bro. Anyways, Mr. Jeff, your rating, sir, and any other final thoughts you had on the episode or series.
I don't have any final thoughts, really. We'll see what we get from the last couple episodes, and then I'll have thoughts about that, obviously. But I'm really not feeling the show that much at the episode 7 mark, and I'm going to give this episode a 3 out of 10, I guess. It's not a good episode. Even if I was into the show, I don't think I would have been super entertained by what I saw there. And again, I don't like how short these episodes are either. For me again, that's really a super, like, me, like, me as a opinion kind of thing. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say, Cyber. I'm looking forward to more Penguin and Daryl Dixon next Monday.
All right, thank you, sir. Kyle, your final thoughts, sir, and your rating, sir.
So I will say, of all the episodes of Agatha, this probably would be my lowest rated episode. Now, since I haven't been on with you guys, I've actually enjoyed a lot of things they've been doing with this show in the aspect of, I think they have done a really good job of tying the show into WandaVision with a lot of little connectors and not really beating you over the head with it. I also, when I look about what the future is for this, because we still don't know the full mapped out plan for the MCU, but I do know this. There is another show that's going to tie into some of these events, and that's the Vision Quest show. That is happening. They've said that's official. So there could be carryover from this into that as well, and that's something to take into consideration. I have already got in my head that this Agatha, whatever happens in the season of Agatha, they're not answering all the questions. And where those answers will be, that'll be the next big question. But as far as this series itself goes, I have thoroughly enjoyed the performances in this series. I think Catherine Hahn is a tour de force. And anything she does, I'm a huge fan of hers. I think she's been great in this series as Agatha. I think they really have been doing a good job of keeping a pretty good balance in the storytelling to me until this episode. And then this episode just felt really out of place. It's like, we still need to tell this story. We can't do this season without telling this story, but when can we tell it? And they just kind of You're like, okay, well, we're gonna shoehorn this in. It's gonna be our palate cleanser before the two-part finale or the last 2 episodes, which we're putting out right before Halloween. And that's what this episode felt like. And it's a shame because we were coming off of such great, intense episodes prior to it with such big reveals, and your curiosity spiked with what direction they were going to go in. And now we kind of taken this left turn to Albuquerque instead of really staying on the road per se. Hopefully now we're back on it and we're going to get some resolution to some things. Like I said, I'm not expecting everything to be resolved when the season's over. I think the focus is going to be Agatha, Rio, and Billy for the remaining 2 episodes. And I think that's going to be the huge lump sum of this. I'm hoping at least the final 2 episodes are each at least hit the 40-minute mark. I mean, the 32 minutes is just not enough for an episode here. There's too much going on in this series. But overall, I think this has been a very solid series for the MCU. This episode, I would probably give it about a 7 out of 10 because it does contribute some things. It does set up a few things. And even with my frustrations with it, it does do what it needs to do in advancing the story, even if it goes a roundabout way of doing it. So I think the rating of this episode could drop depending on what they do with the season finale, next 2 episodes in the season finale. And I think that's the key, because I think that's one of the biggest problems Marvel has had since Endgame is being able to land the ship on these movies and series. They tell a good story in them, but for them, I would say 80% of the time, it feels like they're not getting a fully satisfactory conclusion at the end. And I think I've had this talk about other franchises as well. I still don't think our writers have customized themselves to these 8 to 10 episode seasons compared to what they're still used to with the 22 episode season. And it shows, especially towards the end of these seasons, when it used to feel like you have a lot condensed into a few episodes because they got to answer a lot of questions. I think this is enjoyable. I am definitely in for the last 2. I'm very curious of the path it's going to take and where it's going to leave us afterwards, because what my hope is that we'll have some questions, but we have more answers than we have questions when the series ends in 2 episodes.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Great job. So as you can see, folks, we've had 2 7s, or a 7 and a 7.5, and then, of course, a 3. I'm going to give it a 5. This is my least favorite episode of the series so far. I agree, with Jeff. There's a lot of stuff that just didn't need to be in this episode. There's a lot that just seemed really pushed together. Even though it was understandable, it still was not constructed as well as it could have been for how good some of the episodes have been. So I feel those flashbacks definitely were a great key to filling in the cracks, but at the same time, you could have placed them a little better to make it a little more flowing throughout the episode, versus where going back and forth between the present, past, and future, it should have been boom, 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 instead of boom, over here, then boom, and then over here is kind of how they took those to kind of explain them. And as Kyle mentioned, the very ending portion of the episode where they had that 2-minute little flashback really showed how they could have done it the whole episode. So I 100% agree with everyone on the panel tonight. There was goods, bads, and flaws with this episode, and made it a poor filler episode. And even though it kind of continued the story, it still definitely had filler because it was going back and showing us things that already had happened. So most definitely a little bit of a filler episode. So yeah, I give it a 5. All right. So that is it for that episode 7 of Agatha. As always, thank you for everyone out there that's been watching. All the comment section, you guys have been great. And we are going to plug and get out of here. And I'm going to give it over to Mr. Jeff to do that.
Okay. I'll start off with Kyle. Kyle, tell us what's going on over at the FPN Network, my friend.
Yeah, we got all kinds of things over at the Fandom Podcast Network. You can find us at fpnet.podbean.com or find us on YouTube. Just search for the Fandom Podcast Network. We've been covering our True Believers Marvel show. We've been covering Agatha All Along. We've put out a lot of fun things recently, including our hair metal podcast. We've been covering some very fun stuff on Star Trek with a lot of going back to Next Generation, covering some of the 2-part episodes there. And we are getting ready to dive into a bunch of James Cameron films. Several of his films have finally released on Blu-ray or 4K Ultra HD over the last several months. So we're going to be diving into on our Couch Potato Theater a lot of James Cameron films, including Aliens, Terminator, The Abyss, and we just put out True Lies not that long ago, talking about these upgraded versions and these classic films. A lot of fun there. And of course, too, with our True Believers, we also did a lot of coverage of Deadpool and Wolverine when that came out. So for you MCU fans looking for our take on everything Deadpool, definitely check out our True Believers episodes.
Yeah, True Lies. I can't believe it's 30 years old. It does not look 30 years old. It still looks so good. And the transfer that Cameron did for that, he did a fantastic job.
I'm going to tell you, I've seen the Aliens transfer too, and there are things in the Aliens transfer that are just gorgeous that you picked up that you never did when the film first came out.
Andres.
That's awesome.
Yes, that's pretty cool, Kyle. Andres Pop Culture Guy here. Just recently post my Predator movie tree. Predator movie tribute. Serenity now. Anyway, I just recently posted. I hope Jeff. I hope Cyber. No, understood that reference. Oh, I'm so happy. Anyway, sorry, Phil, everyone. Anyway, so Nightmare on Elm Street. I did. This is a video compilation of all of Freddy Krueger's death. Check that out. That's the new video I just posted here. Because of doing the 12 days of Halloween marathon. This year is a big anniversary for Freddy Krueger himself. His original film is 40 years old, which is crazy. And the new Nightmare from 1994 also came out and is 30 years old as well this year. So it's a big year for Freddy Krueger. So you got to get a little bit of Freddy Krueger content in this channel, which is great. I did my live stream review of Pop Culture Recap, where I talk all the shows I'm watching currently, Attica, Penguin, Daryl, and Superman and Lois. Check it out from the last week episodes I talked about today at Wednesday. And I did some new shorts here. I did show like my Halloween decorations in my house. So check that out if you like Halloween decorations. Get into the Halloween season, folks. We're almost there. I mean, it's almost Halloween. So yeah, that's where I'm at. So Sunday, live stream movie review on Heathers, the 1989 classic starring Winona Ryder and Kristen Slater, Cyber, and Jeff. And I need to get Aston in that part. Hopefully he's fine. But yeah, that's what I have. So thank you, everyone.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
Guy, nice to see you again.
Good to see you, Armin.
Serenity now.
Deep breaths.
Serenity now.
Here, Cyber.
All right, guys. If you enjoy me as a moderator on the panel, you can check out my solo content. Find me under Cyberneticshark. You can see there, I've just posted my movie review for Transformers 1. And also I have my review for Speak No Evil remake from 2022, which just got released this year with James McAvoy playing the new title evil character. If you haven't seen either of those reviews, definitely check them out. Transformers 1, I was really impressed with the film. I really enjoyed it. I thought that it could have had a better voice cast, and it could have been more true to the origin of, or the, Transformers franchise, from the 80s. But they did a good job. Josh Cooley did an amazing job and gave us a really entertaining little film. So definitely check out that review if you have not.
We are also spoiled by Peter Cullen. It's just...
Oh yeah, Peter Cullen played Optimus Prime. I wish they would have had it when he transformed into Optimus Prime in that film. Peter Cullen had came in and started to take over the voiceover. That would have been great. But anywhere there, you guys, you can see that my most recent kind of little mini reviews there is for the Saturday Night film, which is basically about the first night that they did Saturday Night Live in 1975, October 11th, which actually just passed. It's 50th anniversary or 49th. And of course, I saw the Smile 2 film yesterday as well. Did a mini review of that. Definitely check out the little review of that. I will have full reviews of those films coming up soon. I checked out The Escape Room for the first time the other day too, and actually, it was surprisingly not that bad of a film. It was actually pretty damn good. Good cast, good directing, and an interesting take on escape rooms. If you haven't seen that film, definitely check out that mini review of that as well. More content coming up soon, more reviews, more trailer reactions, all that kind of good stuff. And as always, keep on trucking, keep on subscribing, keep on checking us out here on the MCU's Bleeding Edge. Me, Jeff, and Mr. Andres. And of course, our lovely panel of guests that we have come on through. Of course, Mr. Kyle as well. We love having him on. And keep on subscribing to us, people, and watching our stuff. We love you guys, and thank you for watching.
Appreciate everybody that follows and subscribes to us, of course, and everything, and that support us and all that. God bless everybody out there. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. And we're back at it. Me and Cyber are back at it for Black Hawk Down on Friday. So we'll see everybody later, and hopefully, work's not so bad. And Kyle, it's good to see you again, brother.
It's good to see you. And if you guys are doing Black Hawk Down, can you find the version where all the actors wear different name cards? Because for the most part, they all look alike in that damn film, and you can't you lose track of who's who except for basically Eric Bana.
Peace out, folks. Later.